Hello and welcome to Literature Buddy YouTube channel. My name is Ridwan Adidiji, and in this video I will be taking you on a scintillating, engaging and adventurous journey into Niyi Osundare's poem, Not My Business. So in our previous analysis, in the previous video, we ran an analysis of Bosede Ademilua for Lions Once Upon an Elephant. If you've not checked out the video, please do. So in this video, we are going to focus on Not My Business. So, and for a head start, we have to read out the poem. So I'm reading the poem first before we delve into the analysis of the text. So let's get right into it. Not my business. They picked Akani up one morning, beat him soft like clay, and stuffed him down the belly of a waiting jeep. What business of mine is it, so long they don't take the yam from my sovereign mouth? They came one night, both the whole house awake, and dragged Danladi out, then off to a lengthy absence. What business of mine is it, so long they don't take the yam from my sovereign mouth? Chinwe went to work one day, only to find that job was gone. No query, no warning, no probe, just one neat sack for a stainless record. What business of mine is it, so long they don't take the yam from my sovereign mouth? And then one evening, as I sat down to eat my yam, a knock on the door froze my hungry hand. The jeep was waiting on my bewildered lawn, waiting in its usual silence. So, and that is the poem. So, Niyi Osundare is a very prominent Nigerian poet, known for his blend of Western writing styles and Yoruba literary resources. So literary tradition, linguistic resources, etc., etc. So this particular poem focuses on the military, the indifference and the indifference under military tyranny. So that is basically what the poem focuses on. We can see that the poet personnel doesn't care what happens to his or her neighbors, because it does not necessarily affect his own sustenance. So, which is why his own concern is indifferent about what happens to his neighbors under the edges of a military oppression and tyranny. But then one day his own cup became full, and he was also taken by the unending belly of military oppression. It is important to say that this poem is written against the backdrop of military junta, or let's say military government in Nigeria, particularly General Sani Abacha's government, that actually arrested a lot of Nigerian citizens and takes anyone who speaks, who does as little as speak against its tyranny as an enemy of the state. So that's basically what we are looking at in this poem. So let's start with the first stanza. Let's start with the stanza by stanza analysis, and with that we are beginning with the first stanza. They picked Akane up one morning, beat him soft like clay, and stuffed him down the belly of a waiting jeep. Well, the image the poet conjures in this stanza is that of soldiers oppressing the citizenry. So they picked they picked Akane up, they beat him soft like clay and took him away. Well, there is something I remember vividly. There is something in Ngogo Wathiongo's Wizard of the Crowd. There is an expression I took from Ngogo Wathiongo's Wizard of the Crowd, and that's SID, self-induced disappearance. So SID is more or less when the state takes someone away, when the state disappears a personality, and then they claim, well, the person just disappeared, you understand? So they won't claim any responsibility, and that's basically what we are looking at in Niyi Osundare's Not My Business, the first stanza of Not My Business. That's what we are looking at. So they come around, they beat citizens, soldiers beat citizens, then they beat them to a pulp, then they take them away to an unknown destination. So the next stanza of the poem: what business of mine is it, so long they don't take the yam from my sovereign mouth? So the image the poet is trying to imprint in our mind here is that of a poet personnel who doesn't care what happens to Akane. He doesn't care about what happens to Akane. He just wants his own sustenance. He wants his own food. He wants he wants his daily activities uninterrupted. So long it happens to any other person and it doesn't deprives him of sustenance, he doesn't care. Well, I'm using he as a generic pronoun. So you may substitute that with he or she. So because I'm more convenient with he. So what business of mine is it, so long they don't take the yam from my sovereign mouth? So that's the second stanza of the poem. So in the first two stanzas, we already have a complete picture of what is going on in this poem. There is military oppression, and then there is indifference of a particular citizen, to the plight of another citizen. So, and the citizen we are looking at, the indifferent citizen, is more or less a microcosm of a society that doesn't care what the government does to its people. So the next stanza: they came one night, both the whole house awake, and dragged Danladi out, then off to a lengthy absence. So there is something I want us to note. The first stanza is emphatic about morning. The second stanza is emphatic about night. So which means what the poet is trying to tell us is that military operation it happens during the daylight and it happens during the dead of the night. So it goes uninterrupted, whether in the day or whether in the night. So they came one night, they wake the entire house, and they dragged Danladi out, then off to a lengthy absence. And by lengthy absence, we mean detention. He probably is taken to detention, probably is assassinated or murdered, and his corpse is deposited somewhere or buried in an unmarked or unnamed grave. So that's basically what we are looking at here. So they woke the entire house, and no one is even protesting. No one is protesting against these military men who are disturbing the peace of the night. So, and this particular scene is similar to what we have in Ibrahim N. Hussein's Kinjekitile. I don't know if I get the spelling, if I get the pronunciation correct, Kinjekitile. So in that particular play, we witness the character, we witness the two colonial agents, kidnapping Kitunda's daughter. That's a Chalsiku for the Askari to rape and do all sort of things to her. So it got to a point where when those colonial agents left, then the villagers started trooping out, and it got to a point where Kintunda's wife, that's baby Kitunda, had to voice her frustration that where are you people when these colonial agents were dragging my daughter away. So, and that's basically what we have in this stanza as well, where the people allowed the military men to do as they wish to them, without even saying as little as no, you can't do this, without any form of protestation. So they dragged Danladi out, then off to a lengthy absence. So I already told you that lengthy absence may signify anything. It may means the tension. It may mean the tension, and it may mean death. So then off to a lengthy absence. And there is something I want us to note. The first name on the list is Akani. That's a Yoruba name. So a Yoruba person. The next person is Danladi. That's a Hausa name, if that is correct. So we have a Yoruba man already dragged off. A Hausa man dragged off as well after being beaten. Then the next stanza, that's a stanza 4. What business of mine is it, so long they don't take the yam from my sovereign mouth? So this stanza has already become a kind of a refrain. The refrain, the poet personnel repeats to emphasize his indifference to the plight of his fellow countrymen. So he doesn't care, in as much sustenance is guaranteed for him, he doesn't care what happens. So he takes on the garb of nonchalance, that nonchalant attitude. I don't care. So then the next stanza of the poem, which is stanza 5 of the poem. Chinwe went to work one day, only to find her job was gone. No query, no warning, no probe. Just one neat sack from a stainless record. So we, in stanza 5, we witness the victimization of Chinwe for no just cause. She is sacked for no just reason, for no logical reason. So despite the fact that she has done her work diligently, without any errors, without any shortcomings, and etc. So she's sacked, probably because she voiced out against the apparatus of the oppressive apparatus of the military government. So we want to believe that it is not unconnected with speaking out against the oppressive machinery of the military government. So that's stanza 5 of the poem. Then we move on to stanza 6 of the poem. Well, stanza 6 of the poem is yet another refrain, where we have, what business of mine is it, so long they don't take the yam from my sovereign mouth. So again, the poet is unconcerned. The poet personnel is unconcerned what happens to his fellow countrymen. So, and the poet at this point has completed a kind of a circle. It has completed a kind of a circle of the oppressed. So we have Akani, Danladi, Chinwe. Chinwe is an Igbo name. So we have Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. Those are three major ethnic groups in Nigeria, tribes in Nigeria. So basically, what the poet is trying to portray to us with these projections of representatives of the oppressed representatives from the three major ethnic groups in Nigeria is that oppression that does not know any tribe. It oppresses people equally. So it doesn't have a preference. It doesn't have a preference that you are Hausa, so you are immune to oppression. You are Yoruba, you are immune to oppression, or you are Igbo, so automatically you are immune to oppression. So the poet is trying to portray the universality of oppression. So oppression affects everyone. It affects everyone, whether we like to acknowledge it or not. Then the seventh stanza, that's the penultimate stanza. And then one evening, as I sat down to eat my yam, a knock on the door froze my hungry hand. So while the poet personnel is trying to enjoy the sustenance, the resources he has been able to gather from minding his own business, etc., etc. So they came for him as well. So whether you speak against oppression or you don't speak against oppression, one way or the other you would find yourself as a victim of oppression, of military oppression. So the jeep was waiting on my bewildered lawn, waiting in its usual silence. So that they also in the end they also came for the poet personnel. So what is this thing trying to tell us? It is actually trying to tell us that if we see any evil, we should speak against any evil we see in our society. And if we refuse to speak against such abnormalities, we will end up as a victim of such abnormality. We will end up being consumed by that abnormality, whether we acknowledge it or not, or whether we speak, remonstrate against it or not. So then that's basically the analysis of Niyi Osundare's Not My Business. So we would have from this we would have a kind of a quick rundown of the themes in the poem. And talking about this, we have a lot of themes in the text, and the prominent ones are military brutality and indifference. So we understand that this poem is written against the backdrop of military brutality. We can see how brutal, how inhuman, how dehumanizing a military government can be. So we see that with the beating of Akane and his eventual kidnap, or let's say abduction, if those are the right words for it. Then we have Danladi, who is also abducted by a security agent in the dead of the night. Then Chinwe, whose means of survival is blocked. Whose means of survival is also blocked. So in short, the poem actually portrays the evils of military administrations, military government. It portrays the evils of military governments, and that is evident in the kind of brutality meted out on citizens, during such junta. And from the poetic personal's inclination and eventual predicament, we can see that it doesn't matter whether you speak against the government or you don't, you would one way or the other, one would always fall a victim of military tyranny. And that brings me to a particular episode in Wole Soyinka's memoir, You Must Set for That Dawn. So he recanted a particular episode of late Professor Olarotimi, the famous writer of the famous writer of The Gods Are Not to Blame. So he recounted a particular experience of Professor Olarotimi. He was actually driving with his family, and then at some point, one military officer directed him to another part of the road, which he took, only for him to discover later on that they've actually played one on him. They've played one on him. So, and the military officer he encountered later stopped him. He asked him to lie on his bonnet, and then in front of his family, the military officer beats him in the front of his family. So these are some of the things. These are some of the abnormalities you find in a military government, because the power is there, so they can do and undo. So military brutality is one of the main themes in Niyi Osundare's Not My Business. Then to another theme in the poem, which is emphasized by the refrain, what business of mine is it, so long they don't take the yam from my sovereign mouth. So what this actually portrays the theme of indifference. So in the sense that the poet personal doesn't care what happens to people around him. So all he wants is a sustenance. He wants to do his thing without being interrupted, without being disturbed. And the fact that they came for him at the end of the poem just goes to show that no individual is an island. No individual is an island. You must always relate with other human beings, other people in your community, etc. You must identify with their struggles. You must identify with their predicaments. So you need to speak up when something bad is happening to your neighbor. And when someone is oppressing your neighbor, you need to speak up, because you never can tell it may be your turn tomorrow. And this is in consonance with a Yoruba proverb that says ikú tó ń pa ojúgbẹ ẹni, ikú tó pa ojúgbẹ ẹni, òwe ló ń pa fún èèyàn. And that is loosely translated as the death of a neighbor is proverbial of one's death, or it is indicative of the eventuality of one's death. So that's basically what the thing is. So if something is happening to your neighbor, there is prospect that it is going to happen to you as well. So that's basically what we have for the theme of brutality, military brutality, and the theme of indifference. So, and suppression. There is a theme of suppression to where the military had to keep people silent through the use of force. We can see that in the beating of Akani. We can see that in the abduction of Danladi. So these are commonplace. These are commonplace under military government. So if you see anything contrary to the promulgation of the military government, or contrary to the interest of not in the interest of the military government, you would be tagged as a subversive elements immediately. So, and that's basically what we have in the poem. So we have the theme of indifference, the theme of military brutality, the theme of suppression, the theme of tyranny. We are still talking about, we are merry-go-rounding around the same thing. So now we are going to move on to the themes in Not My Business. We are going to we are done with the themes in Not My Business. So now we are going to move on to figures of speech. So, and for figures of speech, we have a lot of them. We have simile, we have hyperbole, we have refrain, and yes, we are talking about rhetorical question, poetic devices generally used in the poem. So, for the figure of speech, an example of a simile is in an example of simile. An example of simile is in line 2, where we have beats him soft like clay, referring to how Akane is beaten to a pulp. So it is a reference to how Akane is beaten to a pulp. In what manner? So beaten like clay. When you want to mold crude clay into, let's say, a flower vase, or probably a plate, a pot, you know how you have to beat the thing to and ensure the thing is soft. Then then hyperbole, we have the boot the whole house awake. You can't boot the whole house. It is an exaggeration at best. So it actually describes how the soldiers woke everyone up, beat them and all that before they take their victim away. That's a danladi. Then we have rhetorical question, and the rhetorical question is evident in the refrain. What business of mine is it, so long they don't take my yam from my sovereign mouth? And that is a rhetorical question describing describing the indifference of the poet's personnel. Then we have refrain. Refrain. What business of mine is it, so long they don't take yam from my sovereign mouth? So we have that in line 5 to 7, line 12 to 14, and line 19 to 25. Then we have personification, the belly of a waiting jeep. We all know a waiting jeep does not have a belly, but the belly given to a waiting jeep in this context refers to the inside of a waiting jeep. Then we have a transferred epithet in line 24, where we have my hungry hand. It is not the hand that is hungry, it is the person that owns the hand that is hungry. So my bewildered lawn, it is not the lawn that is bewildered, it is the owner of the lawn that is bewildered. So he's actually attributing, he's giving the epithet of bewildered. He's transferring the epithet of a bewildered, the attribute of bewildered, from himself to lawn, and the epithet of hungry from himself to his hand. Then finally we have a symbolism, and we have a waiting jeep and the jeep. So those those two phrases, they signify the oppressive mechanism of the military government. They signify the oppressive mechanism of the military government. Once you have waiting jeep, you know these people are cutting you away. They are taking you away to an unknown destination where you would see hell on earth. So on Earth, so we have they actually symbolize the suppressive mechanism of military governments to keep people in check. Then we have yam, and I've said this a number of times in this video. The yam represents sustenance. So he keeps emphasizing that once he has a sustenance, so he doesn't care about what happens to his neighbors. He doesn't care about what happens to his country men. So that's it for the analysis of Niyi Osundare's Not My Business. So if you want something more comprehensive, you can actually go to our website. You can go to our website to read more. You can go to literaturepadi.com.ng to read more about Niyi Osundare's Not My Business. So if you want more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button and share with your friends. Share with your friends, comment, etc., to keep us going. Thank you, and see you in the next video.